Chinese spacecraft carrying 3 astronauts, or taikonauts as China calls them, successfully docked with the country's new space station.
The China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, or the CASC, says it will launch over 100 carrier rockets during this period.
While the United States has long held the top spot when it comes to innovation and technological advancements, in 2025, it appears that China is finally at the forefront of a revolution to reshape industries and set new standards for innovation. The launch of DeepSeek, for instance, has sent shockwaves through the AI sector, disrupting traditional frameworks and pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence. But this is just the beginning. China's ambitions stretch even further, with plans to transition into space-based solar power stations, positioning the nation to lead the charge in harnessing energy from beyond Earth. Yes, you heard that right. China's massive space project is about to change the world. Let's explore more about it together and see why it matters. China's Space Solar Power Station. China plans on deploying a vast solar panel field, 1 kilometer wide, placed in orbit, capturing sunlight without interruption from Earth's weather systems or day-night cycles. This design allows for a level of efficiency and consistency that far surpasses terrestrial solar installations. Solar panels in space are not hindered by cloud cover, atmospheric conditions, or the rotation of the Earth, meaning they can continuously harvest energy from the sun, day or night. This space solar array could rival some of the most significant energy sources currently in operation on Earth, including the Three Gorges Dam, the largest hydroelectric project in the world, which, as it happens, is also housed in China, made after years of painstaking labor. This goes to show that China is at the cusp of something big. It is through such technical prowess that China wishes to conquer the world. So, will this project transform China into the next superpower? Well, let's start with this project first. What can we expect? At present, China's Three Gorges Dam generates about 100 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity annually, powering millions of homes and industries across China. While this is a tremendous achievement, the energy potential of a space-based solar station could dwarf this output. The energy collected in space could far exceed the total amount of energy currently derived from Earth's oil reserves. Space-based solar power stations would tap into the near-constant, undiminished power of the sun, and this energy could be transmitted back to Earth via microwave or laser beams, providing an uninterrupted, clean source of electricity to meet global demands. In the vast vacuum of space, energy collection would be limited only by the scale of the solar array, not by terrestrial limitations like land use or environmental constraints. China aims to launch modular solar panels into orbit and assemble them into an enormous, kilometer-wide array, making this vision increasingly feasible. The scale of energy potential from such an array could render Earth-bound power generation methods such as coal, oil, and gas extraction obsolete, shifting global energy dependence to clean, sustainable space-based solar power. Moreover, space solar power stations would offer a zero-emission source of energy. The uninterrupted collection of solar energy harnessed from space would significantly reduce the strain on Earth's ecosystems. It could also alleviate the need for vast land-based solar farms, which often compete with agricultural and urban spaces for land use. The energy harvested from such a solar panel field could be beamed to Earth in the form of high-efficiency microwave transmissions or lasers, overcoming the primary challenge of transporting power from space to the ground. This, of course, is not happening in a vacuum. The global energy shift. China's rapid advancements in technology and energy sectors have positioned it as a global leader in the quest for sustainable energy solutions and innovative technology. Over the past decade, the nation has made groundbreaking strides in fields such as artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and 5G networks, while also heavily investing in renewable energy technologies. Most prominently, EVs have surged in popularity across the nation, supported by extensive government incentives and the development of a nationwide charging infrastructure. Alongside this, China has invested heavily in Africa, helping to build both renewable energy projects and infrastructure to drive the next phase of economic growth across the continent. With its leadership in 5G, China is poised to usher in a new era of connectivity that will make innovations like self-driving cars, AI, and Internet of Things technologies not just feasible, but integral to daily life. Moreover, China's continued focus on expanding renewable technologies, particularly wind and solar energy, demonstrates the nation's resolve to lead the global energy transition and reduce its reliance on coal and oil. Presently, China's boldest leap forward lies in its ambitions for space-based solar power stations. Unlike conventional solar power, which is constrained by terrestrial limitations like weather patterns, day-night cycles, and land availability, space-based solar stations would be able to collect energy continuously from the sun, sending power back to Earth via microwave or laser beams. This energy source would be clean, virtually limitless, and available regardless of geographic location, thus eliminating many of the challenges faced by traditional renewable energy sources. If successfully implemented, space-based solar power stations could change the entire dynamic of energy generation, offering a nearly infinite, sustainable source of energy that could significantly reduce humanity's reliance on fossil fuels. But it's more than that. This is part of a broader competition between the USA and China. During the Second World War, the Manhattan Project propelled the United States into a new era of scientific and military power. Similarly, the development of space-based solar power could be a transformative moment for the world's energy systems, marking a turning point that could shift the global balance of power and fuel economic growth for decades to come. But things are not as simple as that. Well, they never are. But let's try and understand them anyway. The technology behind the Space Solar Power Station. The core of China's ambitious project begins with the launch and assembly of a massive solar array in Earth's orbit. These solar arrays, each spanning kilometers in width, will be assembled in space using advanced robotic systems, artificial intelligence, and precision engineering. Unlike conventional solar panels on Earth, which are limited by weather patterns and the Earth's rotation, these orbital arrays will have access to uninterrupted sunlight 24/7. The panels, built with the latest in photovoltaic materials, will be designed to be highly efficient, capturing the sun's energy at an extraordinary rate. Once deployed, the panels will work synergistically to gather solar energy and convert it into electricity. However, the challenge doesn't end with energy collection. The next critical phase is transmitting this energy back to Earth. The energy collected by these solar arrays will be transformed into microwaves, a form of electromagnetic radiation that can travel across vast distances through space. Microwaves are chosen because they can pass through the Earth's atmosphere with minimal interference, unlike visible light, which would be scattered or absorbed by clouds and other atmospheric conditions. This energy is then transmitted through space to ground-based receivers, often referred to as rectennas. The word is a combination of rectifier and antenna. These rectennas, which would be located in remote or uninhabited regions of Earth, would capture the microwave energy and convert it back into usable electricity. The precision required in both the transmission and reception of this energy is staggering, and significant advancements in both microwave technology and energy storage systems will be necessary to ensure this process is efficient and cost-effective. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, in this case, it appears to be grounded in reality. In fact, the whole idea of space-based solar power is not a new concept. Research into this field dates back to the 1970s. NASA, in collaboration with the US Department of Energy, initiated early studies on the feasibility of space-based solar power during that era. Their research focused on understanding how solar arrays could be built and maintained in orbit, and how energy could be transmitted back to Earth in a safe and efficient manner. Though the technology of the time was not advanced enough to make space-based solar power a practical reality, these early studies laid the foundation for future endeavors. The idea that solar energy could be collected in space and transmitted to Earth captured the imagination of scientists, but it also presented technological challenges. One of the most significant developments in this research occurred in 1975, when the US Department of Energy and NASA successfully tested microwave power transmission on a small scale. The experiment involved converting solar energy into microwave radiation, transmitting it over a short distance, and converting it back into electricity. While the test was rudimentary, it demonstrated that microwave transmission of energy was indeed possible, opening the door for future, more advanced research and development in this area. These tests also highlighted the potential safety concerns and technical hurdles that would need to be addressed before large-scale space-based solar power stations could be realized. Fast forward to today, and technological advancements in materials science, robotics, and space exploration have brought the dream of space-based solar power much closer to reality. The ability to launch solar arrays into orbit is no longer a distant goal, but a tangible possibility, thanks to the lowering costs of space launches and the growing capacity of modern rockets. At the same time, innovations in microwave transmission and rectenna technology have addressed many of the issues that were once thought insurmountable. In today's time, the combination of advances in solar panel technology, energy transmission, and space exploration offers the potential to revolutionize how the world generates and consumes energy. There's a lot at stake, and China understands it all too well. China's practical implementation of space solar power. Over the past few decades, China has demonstrated an uncanny ability to turn visionary Western concepts into practical, real-world solutions. This is evident in its successful adaptation of technologies such as maglev trains and molten salt reactors, both of which were initially conceptualized in the West but have since been refined and implemented at scale by China. With space-based solar power, China is once again taking the lead in transforming a long-held idea into an achievable goal. In June 2021, China took a major step forward with the launch of its first experimental space solar power station, marking a historic milestone in the global effort to harness solar energy from space. The experimental station, though modest in its energy output, provided invaluable insights into the technical challenges of collecting solar energy in orbit, converting it to microwaves, and transmitting it back to Earth. The success of this first phase of the project proved that the basic principles behind space-based solar power are sound, and it laid the groundwork for more ambitious projects to come. The most significant breakthrough came in November 2023, with the successful demonstration of the Chasing Sun project. This groundbreaking project showcased the advancements China has made in microwave power transfer, a critical component in the process of transmitting solar energy collected in space to Earth. The Chasing Sun project was designed to test the efficiency and safety of microwave transmission over significant distances, using advanced rectenna technology to capture the energy and convert it back into usable electricity. Looking forward, the feasibility of a full-scale space solar power station within the next 5 to 10 years is becoming increasingly plausible. China has already laid the groundwork for a large-scale implementation, with ongoing research and development efforts aimed at overcoming the final technical hurdles. The successful demonstration of power transfer technologies, combined with China's vast experience in launching and assembling large-scale infrastructure in space, provides a strong foundation for the construction of a full-fledged space solar power station. The country's commitment to building the necessary infrastructure on Earth, such as ground-based microwave receivers and energy storage systems, also supports the potential for full-scale deployment. With state-backed initiatives, a growing number of partnerships with global scientific institutions, and a clear strategic focus on renewable energy, China is positioning itself to lead the way in harnessing space-based solar power. But there are concerns, not all of which are unfounded. One of the most common misconceptions about this groundbreaking technology is the fear that it could be weaponized, with critics drawing parallels to science fiction concepts like the Death Star from Star Wars. The idea that space solar power could somehow be used as a destructive force is not only unfounded, but also ignores the basic principles behind microwave power transmission. In reality, the technology is designed for peaceful, sustainable energy generation, and any weaponization potential is scientifically implausible due to the nature of the energy transmission process. Unlike the concentrated beams imagined in fictional portrayals, space solar power relies on the transmission of energy via microwaves in a diffuse and controlled manner, making it impossible to focus the energy into a weaponized form. Microwave power transmission has been extensively researched, and safety has been a primary consideration throughout its development. The primary concern surrounding microwave transmission is the potential for harm caused by exposure to concentrated microwave radiation. However, scientists have determined that the power densities of microwaves used in these systems are well within safe limits, especially when compared to natural sunlight. The energy levels of the microwaves that would be transmitted from space are significantly lower than those found in everyday experiences, such as the sun's rays, which already expose living organisms to far more intense radiation on a regular basis. This ensures that the energy transmitted from a space solar power station is no more dangerous than the natural sunlight we are all exposed to each day, which has been proven to be safe within regulated limits. Moreover, the microwaves are dispersed across a wide area, preventing any concentration of energy that could potentially harm wildlife, aircraft, or humans. Birds and planes flying through the transmission beam would not be at risk, as the energy intensity at those altitudes would be too weak to cause any harm. Similarly, humans on the ground would experience only negligible energy exposure, no different from the levels encountered from other natural and man-made sources of electromagnetic radiation. This carefully controlled transmission system ensures that the power collected and beamed to Earth is safe for all living beings, including birds, planes, and humans. The transmission systems are designed with multiple layers of safety protocols, including real-time monitoring and energy regulation, to ensure that no dangerous concentrations of energy are inadvertently released into the environment. Then there's the financial question. The complexities of building infrastructure in space, such as launching solar arrays, assembling large-scale energy collection systems, and transmitting power back to Earth, necessitate unprecedented levels of financial investment. According to estimates, the cost of launching and assembling the necessary components could range into hundreds of billions of dollars, depending on the scale and design of the space station. The technological hurdles involved in constructing a space solar power station are equally formidable. Building and launching large solar arrays that can capture sufficient energy to meet Earth's energy demands requires cutting-edge technologies in aerospace engineering, materials science, and energy transmission. The construction of such a facility requires not only robust spacecraft capable of carrying heavy payloads to orbit, but also highly advanced robotics and autonomous systems to assemble solar arrays and power beaming equipment in space. Even more complex is the safe and efficient transmission of power from space to Earth, which demands new breakthroughs in microwave or laser transmission technology, as well as the ability to maintain precise energy beam targeting and control. The reliability and scalability of such systems, especially over long periods of operation, is still an area of active research and development. To tackle these monumental challenges, both financial and technological, the rise of a new space race is taking shape, particularly between China and the United States. China has been making rapid strides in space exploration and technology development, positioning itself as a global leader in the pursuit of space-based solar power. So, where is China right now compared to the United States? The resumption of the space race. China's ambitious space exploration goals, coupled with its growing technological prowess in fields like artificial intelligence, robotics, and renewable energy, place it in a strong position to lead the way in this new frontier of energy production. The Chinese government has already made significant investments in space infrastructure, including the successful testing of space-based solar power systems and the development of spacecraft designed to transport and assemble energy collection systems in orbit. On the other hand, the United States has historically been a pioneer in space exploration and continues to hold an influential position in the development of advanced energy technologies. However, the US faces its own set of challenges, both financially and technologically. But the sense of competition is present and it's not going away. Sounds familiar, right? The original space race between the United States and the Soviet Union was one of the defining technological and political battles of the Cold War. The Soviet Union took an early lead with the launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957, the world's first artificial satellite, which sent shockwaves through the US military and government. This single event made it clear that the USSR had the capability to launch payloads into orbit, and by extension, potentially deploy nuclear weapons from space. The US response was swift, leading to the creation of NASA in 1958 and a frenzied push to close the technological gap. The Soviets continued to dominate the early space race, with Luna 2 becoming the first spacecraft to reach the Moon in 1959. Vostok 1 carrying Yuri Gagarin into orbit in 1961, and Voskhod 2 achieving the first ever spacewalk in 1965. The United States, however, was determined to outdo the Soviet Union, culminating in the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to set foot on another celestial body. Despite the triumph of Apollo 11, the space race just faded out. Once the US had decisively beaten the Soviet Union to the moon, the strategic urgency of space exploration began to wane. The financial burden of lunar missions, combined with domestic political pressures, led to the cancellation of the remaining Apollo missions after Apollo 17 in 1972. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union, plagued by economic difficulties and internal strife, shifted its focus from the moon to space station development, launching Salyut 1 in 1971 and later the Mir space station in 1986. By the late 20th century, competition had given way to cooperation, exemplified by the joint Apollo-Soyuz test project in 1975, the Shuttle Mir program in the 90s, and the eventual construction of the International Space Station, which brought together the US, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada in a collaborative effort. However, at the height of the space race, that's not how people envisioned the future. Science fiction films like 1968's 2001. A Space Odyssey captured the optimism of the time, predicting that by the turn of the 21st century, humanity would have a permanent lunar base, large space stations, and deep space exploration programs. However, reality failed to live up to these expectations. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 and NASA's shift towards space shuttle operations, the dream of expansive human colonization of space stalled. The International Space Station became humanity's primary foothold in low Earth orbit, but its scope was limited and lunar ambitions were put on hold. Beyond scientific exploration, the space race also had a darker militaristic side. Both the US and USSR explored concepts such as orbital nuclear weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, and anti-satellite weaponry. The United States had programs like Project Thor, which envisioned tungsten rods dropped from orbit with the destructive force of a nuclear bomb, but without radioactive fallout. The Soviet Union, on the other hand, developed the Fractional Orbital Bombardment System, designed to launch nuclear warheads into orbit before deorbiting them for a surprise attack. There were even attempts to deploy nuclear weapons in space, such as the Project 437 ASAT system, which involved launching nuclear-tipped missiles to destroy enemy satellites. However, the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, signed by both superpowers and numerous other nations, placed strict limitations on the militarization of space, prohibiting the placement of weapons of mass destruction in orbit or on celestial bodies. But this may change now. After decades of stagnation, China has emerged as the key player in reigniting the space race. Unlike the cooperative approach of the US and its partners on the International Space Station, China has pursued an independent and highly ambitious space program. The country's space agency, the China National Space Administration, or CNSA, has achieved a series of milestones. In 2003, China became the third nation to send humans into space with Shenzhou 5, and it has since developed an advanced human spaceflight program. The construction of the Tiangong space station, completed in 2023, represents a direct alternative to the aging International Space Station, giving China a permanent outpost in low Earth orbit. China's lunar ambitions have also surpassed those of any nation in recent decades. The Chang'e program, named after the Chinese moon goddess, has placed multiple landers, rovers, and sample return missions on the moon. The Chang'e 4 mission in 2019 achieved the historic first-ever landing on the far side of the moon, a feat never accomplished by the United States or Russia. In 2020, Chang'e 5 successfully returned lunar samples to Earth, further advancing China's ability to conduct complex space operations. Additionally, the Tianwen-1 mission in 2021 marked China's first successful interplanetary mission, sending an orbiter, lander, and rover to Mars, making China only the second country after the United States to land a functioning rover on the Red Planet. Perhaps the most significant indication of China's space ambitions is its aggressive push toward establishing a long-term human presence on the moon. The planned International Lunar Research Station, a collaboration with Russia, aims to create a fully operational base on the lunar surface by the 2030s. This endeavor could serve as a precursor to further deep space missions, including manned expeditions to Mars. Naturally, the United States has been forced to re-enter the competition. The Artemis program, launched by NASA, seeks to return American astronauts to the Moon by the mid-2020s, with the goal of establishing a sustainable lunar presence. Unlike the Apollo program, Artemis is designed as an international effort, involving contributions from the European Space Agency, Japan, and Canada. The US has also strengthened its partnerships with private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, leveraging their capabilities to develop next-generation spacecraft. The modern space race is no longer just about national prestige. It is about securing long-term dominance in space infrastructure, energy resources, and military capabilities. Plus, the militarization of the space is once again becoming a possibility. In January 2025, President Donald Trump issued an executive order directing the development of a next-generation missile defense system, referred to as the Iron Dome for America. This initiative aims to protect the United States from a range of missile threats, including ballistic, hypersonic, and advanced cruise missiles. A key component of this plan involves the deployment of space-based interceptors capable of neutralizing missiles during their boost phase, the initial stage of flight when they are most vulnerable. The concept of space-based missile defense dates back to the Strategic Defense Initiative of the 1980s, commonly known as Star Wars. However, the current proposal seeks to leverage modern technological advancements to create a more effective and reliable defense system. Naturally, the announcement of this initiative has elicited strong reactions from the international community. Russia, in particular, has criticized the plan, arguing that it could disrupt the global nuclear balance and lead to the militarization of space. Russian officials have expressed concerns that deploying interceptors in space may undermine strategic stability and hinder arms control efforts. One thing is clear, though. The US is nervous. So, what will be the end of this new space race? Well, only time will tell. But based on what we see right now, things are headed on a collision course. Diverging approaches, China versus the United States. The Chinese government has developed a clear and focused vision for the future, with a dedicated commitment to harnessing space-based solar power as a critical component of its energy strategy. This vision is embedded within broader national goals, including sustainability, technological leadership, and energy independence. China's centralized planning enables a coherent alignment of resources, talent, and funding toward achieving long-term objectives. This top-down approach, underpinned by a highly coordinated state apparatus, allows for accelerated decision-making and implementation of large-scale projects, making ambitious initiatives like space solar power a feasible prospect within a set timeframe. In contrast, the United States operates under a more decentralized model, with a combination of public and private sector contributions to technological advancements. While the US has historically been at the forefront of space exploration and innovation, its approach to projects like space solar power is often influenced by market-driven forces and the involvement of private enterprises. This results in a more fragmented developmental model where initiatives may evolve incrementally, with private companies driving much of the technological innovation, but sometimes lacking the cohesive direction seen in China's approach. While the US government plays an important role in funding and regulating space missions, it often relies on private partnerships and competition to push the boundaries of innovation. This means that US progress in areas such as space-based solar power may be subject to market pressures and political shifts, potentially slowing down the pace of development. So, what if China beats the United States in the space arena? It's only solar power or a couple of outposts on the Moon and Mars. Well, it's actually more than that. Much, much more. Space dominance has always been intrinsically tied to technological superiority, and in the modern world, that translates directly to economic power, strategic advantage, and military capability. The nation that leads in space infrastructure, whether through energy projects, advanced satellites, or deep space exploration, will set the technological standards for the coming century. China's dominance in space could spill over into Earth-based conflicts, where control over orbital assets might decide the outcome of future wars. With the increasing reliance on satellite networks for communications, intelligence, and navigation, a superior space presence could provide a decisive edge in any geopolitical standoff, making space not just the final frontier, but the ultimate high ground in warfare. The militarization of space, long theorized but often dismissed due to international treaties, is becoming a tangible possibility. While the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 prohibits the deployment of nuclear weapons in space, it does not explicitly ban all military activities. The increasing presence of anti-satellite weapons, space-based surveillance, and even potential kinetic strike capabilities suggests that space could soon become an active battleground. The Taiwan Strait conflict, already a flashpoint of tension, could see a new dimension if China's superior space assets allow it to disable enemy satellites or ensure seamless military coordination beyond the reach of American countermeasures. If China achieves space dominance, it would no longer need to confront the US directly on the high seas. Instead, control over the skies above could dictate the battlefield below. At the heart of China's relentless push for progress in space is the historical weight of its century of humiliation, a period of foreign domination and internal strife that China seeks to erase by securing an unshakable position of global leadership. Space, in many ways, represents the final validation of China's resurgence, proving that it is no longer a subordinate power, but a pioneering force shaping humanity's future. However, a new Cold War in space would be a catastrophic misstep. The rapid advancements being made should be harnessed for global progress rather than confrontation. The true solution lies in cooperation, not rivalry. A joint framework where both China and the United States contribute to shared space governance, technology exchange, and international space missions would ensure that space remains a domain of peace and discovery. That will be best for all. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.